Her stepbrother took it all. Part 2. Chapter 7, Scorched Earth. She didn't post a farewell. No angry tweets. No public meltdown. No long-winded apology on LinkedIn with the word pivot in it. Dannielle Maddox simply vanished. The firm she'd built from the ground up collapsed in less than 72 hours. She didn't even bother locking the doors. When the news hit the industry press, Maddox PR implodes after sudden internal dispute. She was already gone. No comments. No clarifications. Only silence. The public assumed she was embarrassed. Defeated. Maybe even institutionalized, because who walks away from a multi-million-dollar brand without a fight? But they didn't understand. This wasn't a retreat. This was the scorching. She spent the first week off the grid, crashing in a sublet upstate. One suitcase. One phone. No Wi-Fi. She lay in bed and stared at the ceiling for hours, letting the rage metabolize in her bones. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't even touch her laptop. She just waited. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing a woman can do is nothing. Let them think you're broken. Let them celebrate the win. Let them believe it's over. And then? You start building the machine. By the second week, she was back online. Quietly. Privately. No Instagram. No Twitter. No official channels. She created a fake identity, Monica Vale. A low-profile digital consultant with no visible ties to Maddox PR. A burner email, a shell company, and a minimalist portfolio built to attract a very specific kind of client, people who wanted to disappear from the news cycle, or manipulate it. Monica was surgical. Precise. Untraceable. Under that name, Dannielle started collecting. Watching. She flagged every article about Tristan's firm Maddox Elevate, especially the ones he fed to the press himself. She took screenshots of his investor lists. Tracked which journalists seemed too flattering. Made notes of which partners came and went. She bought a burner phone and started cold contacting ex-clients. Not as Dannielle. Never as Dannielle. Always as someone curious. Hi there. I'm doing a quiet background check on a former firm we're considering investing in. Maddox Elevate. Anything you can share? Most ignored her. A few responded politely. But one ex-client responded with a single sentence. You're not the first person he's hollowed out. That was all it took. The match hit the fuse. She returned to the city under a different name. Different clothes. No more polished PR princess in heels. Now she wore black boots. Glasses. Her hair dyed a deep red, almost black, severe, intimidating, unrecognizable. She rented a new place under another shell corporation and signed the lease in silence. Then she built the list. A full wall covered in names, companies, contacts, enemies. String, tacks, photos. Like something out of a detective movie, only this wasn't a murder case. It was a slow incineration. At the top of the board, Tristan Maddox. Underneath, liars. Co-conspirators. Enablers. Access points. She studied the board like a soldier reading enemy terrain. Because the war had already started. And this time, it would not be polite. She called no one. Not even her mother. Ellen had texted once after the story broke. I hope you're okay. I heard what happened. Please call me. Dannielle didn't reply. She wasn't interested in comfort. She wasn't interested in family. The word had always been a poisoned fruit. Tristan hadn't just taken her money. He had taken her name. Her credibility. Her silence. And now? She would take everything else. The first strike was quiet. She submitted a whistleblower tip anonymously to a compliance board linked to one of Tristan's holding companies. She knew there was fraud happening. He'd bragged about it once at dinner, half drunk, laughing about moving investments around like Monopoly money. That tip opened a file. Then she started feeding information tiny leaks to freelance journalists known for chasing shadows. She sent photos, emails, hints. She waited. And when nothing happened, she smiled. Because she knew it wouldn't be quick. She didn't want quick. She wanted him to feel it. One paper cut at a time. By the end of the month, Tristan still thought he'd won. He was launching a podcast. A startup accelerator. Speaking on panels about the ethics of entrepreneurship. His face was on billboards. His quotes were in magazines. He was rich. Confident. Golden. And completely unaware that everything around him was already on fire. Not visible flames. No. Not yet. But the ground beneath him was starting to smolder. Chapter 8, The Disappearance. She was everywhere. Her name was on articles. Threads. Posts. What happened to Dee Maddox? PR princess or corporate scammer? Fallen starlet of the media game. And then, just like that, she was nowhere. No press releases. No social media. No statements. Nothing. In a city obsessed with relevance, silence is the loudest exit. Dannielle deleted everything. Personal accounts. Cloud drives. Email histories. Even her birth name from professional databases. She had helped discreet hackers, owed favors, friends of friends who didn't ask questions. She left no forwarding address. No digital trace. No breadcrumb trail. She became a myth. Some said she fled the country. Others said she was in rehab, or dating an investor in Dubai. The truth was more dangerous. She was in the city the whole time. Watching. Listening. Becoming someone else. Her transformation didn't happen all at once. It began in layers. Hair dyed deep red, like the shade of crushed wine. Brows reshaped. Cheekbones highlighted differently. She swapped her neutral wardrobe for sharp silhouettes, luxury with bite, black leather, deep emerald, crimson lipstick that cut like a signature. She bought designer sunglasses, oversized, mirrored the kind that made people look twice but never see. Her new name? Isla Vance. Isla had no past. Just a fabricated resume, curated friends, and a thick accent she wore like armor, transatlantic, clipped, vaguely European. The kind of voice that made men lean in just to ask, "Where are you from?" She never answered. The first time she entered Tristan's orbit again, he didn't even notice. It was at a gallery opening in Soho, sleek, overpriced, crawling with pseudo-celebrities pretending not to be impressed by each other. Tristan was there, of course, wearing a tux jacket with no tie, talking to a blonde in biotech and a TikTok chef who sold his soul for avocado toast. Dannielle watched from across the room, sipping sparkling water and smiling like a woman with secrets. Her body was angled, her profile just unfamiliar enough. The red hair helped. So did the way she looked right through him. He glanced at her once. Twice. Their eyes met briefly and passed like strangers. Perfect. From there, she threaded herself into his world like silk through a needle. Not as a threat. Not as a name. As a presence. She started appearing at the same events, never too close, never too far. The charity gala. The private panel. The rooftop brand launch for a company he partially funded. Each time, she changed something, a new hairstyle, a new scent, a new accessory that caught the light just so. And each time, she caught his eye for just a second too long before looking away. It was enough to make him curious. But not suspicious. Not yet. She began gathering intel the old-fashioned way, whispers, gossip, careless conversations in overstuffed rooms full of people too rich to be cautious. She overheard an investor mention a shell company registered in Tristan's name, one with no product, no team, no staff. She watched an executive discreetly hand him an envelope at a speaker brunch. She noted the way his smile twitched when a journalist brought up whispers about fund mismanagement. And all of it went into her growing file. A second wall. A second web. This time inside his world. Then came her first direct infiltration. She applied for a short-term PR contract through one of Tristan's affiliate firms under the alias Isla Vance. No photo. Just credentials forged to pass basic checks, a portfolio ghostwritten by her own hand, and a few well-placed references. 2 days later, she was assigned a consulting role on one of his upcoming campaigns. She was in. The first time she walked into the same room as him, knowingly she wore white. A clean, fitted blazer. Hair slicked back. No makeup except a deep red mouth. He paused when he saw her. Tilted his head, intrigued. "Have we met?" he asked. She smiled, slow and elegant. "I don't think so," she replied. Her voice was velvet. No trace of the girl he used to mock. "I'd remember." He nodded. Offered his hand. "Tristan Maddox." "Isla," she said, taking it. Their shake was firm. Cool. Electric. And just like that, she was inside the lion's den. That night, she went home to her empty apartment and laughed for the first time in months. Not a joyful laugh. Not even relieved. The laugh of a woman who had just stepped into hell wearing gasoline perfume and heels that clicked like a countdown. Let them think she disappeared. Let them whisper about failure and shame. Because the truth was far more dangerous. She hadn't disappeared. She'd become invisible. And that was always her sharpest weapon. Chapter 9, 182 days later. It had been 182 days since Tristan Maddox destroyed everything she built. 6 months since the wire transfer. 5 months since the false audit. 4 months since the whisper campaign. 3 months since she'd officially vanished. And now? She was back. Not as Dannielle. As Isla Vance, the red-haired woman who moved like smoke and left no fingerprints. She had become a rumor. A conversation starter. A fixture in Tristan's orbit, not close, not far. Present. Always watching. It started at the Tech for Change Summit, a 3-day spectacle of egos and startups and moral-sounding buzzwords. Tristan was a keynote speaker. Disrupting disruption, building empires with purpose. Vomit. She stood near the back of the ballroom, champagne in hand, sleek and radiant in emerald silk. Her red hair was pulled into a high, sharp knot. A single diamond at her throat. Tristan passed within 10 feet of her. She didn't move. He looked at her, hesitated, then turned away, as if unsure why her face bothered him. Perfect. Over the following weeks, Isla Vance became a recognizable face in the background of elite photos. At the Vox One Investors Gala, she clinked glasses with media executives and kissed cheeks like a practiced heiress. At the Park Society dinner, she stood beside a board member from one of Tristan's shell companies, laughing quietly. At the Urban Equity Fashion Showcase, she stood 2 tables away from Tristan, watching him deliver another speech with that same golden smirk. She didn't speak to him. She didn't need to. But every time he saw her, he paused. Like a ghost brushing past his thoughts. He asked about her once casually, to one of the firm's newer interns. "Who's the redhead at table 7, he murmured, half distracted by his phone. "Oh, that's Isla Vance," the intern replied. "PR consultant. Freelance, I think. Came in on that Restore Clean project." "Right," Tristan muttered, scrolling through something. "Right. She looks familiar." But he couldn't place her. Not with the red hair. Not with the accent. Not with the way she stood taller now, like she had nothing to apologize for. Not with the way she smiled, all ice and velvet, like she already knew everything he was about to say. Behind the scenes, Dannielle's plan tightened like a noose. She wasn't just showing up at events. She was infiltrating his connections. She'd befriended his newest VP's assistant aboard, overworked 24-year-old who adored her and shared just a little too much after one martini too many. She'd charmed one of Tristan's podcast editors, now quietly copying her every file before it was uploaded. She'd joined an invitation-only WhatsApp group for discreet PR specialists, where startup founders vented secrets after midnight. Every move was intentional. Every face memorized. Every alliance a seed. Because Isla wasn't here to be noticed. She was here to know. And knowledge, real knowledge, was Tristan's Achilles heel. He thrived on performance. Illusion. The image of perfection. But truth? Truth was a weapon he never learned to survive. By the time the 182nd day arrived, Dannielle had access to 4 of his internal Slack channels. A silent partnership with 2 of his disillusioned junior investors. A photo of him accepting an envelope in an unmarked parking garage, time-stamped. And a partial audio recording from a private yacht dinner that contained the phrase, "If they trace it back to me, I'll say it was a ghost LLC." She listened to that clip every night before bed. Like a bedtime story. That evening, at a rooftop fundraiser for sustainable cities, she stood near the back wall of the venue, the skyline glittering behind her like a lie. She wore crimson elegant, backless, with gloves that went past her elbows. Tristan arrived late, of course. Flashing his trademark grin. Posing for cameras. Handshakes. Laughter. Applause. Then, as if compelled, he looked across the crowd and saw her. His smile faltered. Just slightly. He tilted his head, puzzled. She held his gaze this time. Raised her champagne glass. Sipped. Then turned away without a word. It unnerved him. She could see it. He kept glancing over, scanning the crowd, searching for context that wasn't there. But he wouldn't remember. Not yet. He'd feel it though, that prickle at the back of his neck. The uneasy buzz of something just out of place. She would become that feeling. That shadow. Everywhere he turned, she'd be behind someone. Or beside someone. Or just stepping into an elevator as he stepped out. Familiar. Unplaceable. Watching. Until he stopped sleeping. Until he couldn't trust his own memory. Until his own mind became her playground. This was only the beginning. He stole her peace. So now? She would haunt his. Chapter 10, The First Piece Falls. It started with a whisper. A private tip. An encrypted message sent anonymously to a niche financial gossip blog known for one thing, breaking scandals before they go mainstream. The subject line read: "Check the books at Maddox Elevate. Start with the girlfriend. No name. No signature. No traceable IP. Just a zip file full of spreadsheets, screenshots, and internal memos." 30 minutes later, a reporter named Leanna Grace, known for slicing through tech brothers like butter, had everything she needed for a story. And by morning, the world had a new headline. Breaking, model turned marketer linked to internal theft at Maddox Elevate. Underneath the title was a photo of Tristan's girlfriend, Savannah Gray, impossibly beautiful, social media polished, with 1.8 million followers and a fashion line full of overpriced loungewear. She was also, as it turned out, quietly funneling company funds into a consultancy registered in her cousin's name in the Caymans. The sum? Just shy of $800,000. All undocumented. All buried under marketing expenses. All painstakingly compiled in the file that had landed in Leanna's inbox. It was airtight. And no one had a clue where it came from. Tristan saw the story while boarding a flight to LA. At first, he laughed. A hard, disbelieving snort. People are so desperate for headlines, he muttered to Savannah, who sat beside him in silk joggers and glossy headphones. She looked annoyed more than worried. "They're obsessed with us," she said. "It's pathetic." By the time they landed, 5 major outlets had picked it up. By noon, one of their investors was pausing disbursements. By 4, the company's legal team was demanding access to Savannah's expense records. And by evening, Savannah was locked out of her company laptop. The backlash was immediate. Savannah posted a Notes app statement on Instagram, blaming a malicious smear campaign and calling the allegations disgusting and false. But the comments were brutal. "You really stole from your boyfriend's company? Girl! Hope that robe was worth federal charges. This is giving Fyre Fest energy." She turned off her comments by midnight. Tristan didn't post anything. He didn't even like her statement. Instead, he spent the next 48 hours on the phone, fuming. His voice hit new levels of venom, threatening lawyers, berating PR consultants, demanding answers from his own finance department. But no one had answers. The files were real. The paper trail was devastating. And worst of all, it was too clean. Whoever had leaked it knew exactly where to look. Dannielle watched it all unfold from the mezzanine level of a private members club downtown, glass of Pinot Noir in one hand, a small smirk tugging at her lips. She didn't celebrate. Not openly. She simply observed. Absorbed. Her plan had worked better than expected. Savannah had always been sloppy. Entitled. She walked into every gala like she was bulletproof, not realizing she'd been walking around with her purse unzipped the whole time. Dannielle had noticed her months ago flashing company cards at boutiques, bragging about expenses at dinners, drunk and sloppy with names and numbers. All it took was a favor from a junior accountant at Maddox Elevate, someone she'd met through a fake recruiting agency she invented for exactly this kind of thing. He'd thought he was giving information to a headhunter. He was actually handing a loaded gun to a ghost. The real genius, though, wasn't just exposing Savannah. It was timing. The leak came 1 week before a major funding announcement. A merger deal. A 7-figure payday. All of it put on ice. Tristan had spent years building his empire on the illusion of control: sharp suits, golden boy charm, well-lit interviews with buzzwords like vision and integrity. Now, he looked reckless. Weak. Vulnerable. Not because he was guilty, but because he let someone that guilty get that close. Investors hate uncertainty more than they hate criminals. And suddenly, Tristan was the embodiment of both. Savannah was gone by the end of the week. She fled to Paris, citing mental health and toxicity. No refunds. No answers. No closure. Just one last post, a blurry photo of a window and the caption: "Some storms clear the air. Others clear the people." She turned off her account the next day. Tristan didn't crumble. Not yet. But something in him tilted. He started arriving late to meetings. Snapping at assistants. Asking paranoid questions like, "Who's been accessing the investor portal?" He started drinking more. Sleeping less. And he kept seeing her. The red-haired woman. The one with the cool eyes and the distant smile. At events. At dinners. At the corner of rooms where she didn't belong. Always just there. One night, after a tech launch, he asked his friend, "Do you know her?" "Who?" "That one," he said, scanning the crowd. "She was here last month too. Red hair. Accent. But she was already gone." And far, far away from the rooftop lights and the echo of a party, Dannielle sat in front of a whiteboard, crossing out a name. Savannah Gray eliminated. Below it, she scribbled 2 new ones. Investor leak number 1. Tristan's right hand, vulnerability assessment. The board was getting crowded now. The pieces were moving faster. The game wasn't over. Not even close. But finally the first piece had fallen. And it was only the beginning. Chapter 11, Social Climber Takedown. The thing about power? It's rarely held by one person. It lives in whispers, shared secrets, alliances. In favors traded over espresso and champagne. In handshakes no one remembers making. And Tristan Maddox had built his empire on borrowed loyalty, the kind that came with teeth and price tags. Not friends. Not partners. Sycophants. Opportunists. Social climbers. And one by one, Dannielle began tearing them down. The first was Marcus Finn. Marcus had branded himself as a serial founder, with 5 start UPS, 3 exits, and 1 very expensive Rolex he liked to leave half exposed during interviews. He loved quoting Sun Tzu and misusing the term disruption. He was also Tristan's go-to for media endorsements, podcast co-hosting, and strategic bro-bonding. Dannielle found him laughably easy. All it took was a rumor dropped anonymously to a gossip site frequented by investors. Sources say Marcus Finn inflated his user metrics by 200% to secure his last funding round. Wonder what else is fabricated? Within days, the press found the old data reports. They didn't match. Not even close. One investor pulled out of his next round. Then another. Marcus went on Twitter in full damage control mode. Numbers are always evolving in early stage growth. Context matters. No one bought it. A week later, his latest startup was labeled non-operational on Crunchbase. Target number 1, collapsed. Next up, Sienna Ray. Lifestyle influencer. Wellness guru. Self-appointed digital manifestation coach. She was Tristan's public arm candy, always posting selfies in his penthouse with captions like "Level up your circle." Kiss Mark money with wings. She wasn't dangerous. But she was loud. And loud people are the easiest to destabilize. Dannielle hired a digital ghostwriter to pose as a young intern who had worked for Sienna. Then she released a 5-part TikTok series titled Confessions of a Scammed Assistant. No faces. No names. Just tearful storytelling. I managed her email. She never wrote a single thing herself. She charged $999 for a healing course she downloaded from Reddit. It went viral in 12 hours. By day 2, Reddit sleuths had found proof receipts, audio clips, even the same typos from a free PDF meditation guide reposted as Sienna's exclusive method. Sienna's followers dropped by 30,000. Her brand partners ghosted her. Her next live stream lasted 7 minutes before she burst into tears and logged off. Target number 2, silenced. Then came Derek Tan, Tristan's CFO, the quiet one, always in the background at events, sipping whiskey and watching everyone like he had dirt on them. He was the most dangerous kind of loyal, the kind who knew where the money was buried. So Dannielle didn't leak anything about Derek. She leaked something to Derek. An anonymous tip. An accidental message sent to his encrypted business line. Someone inside is building a file on Tristan. Whistleblower. Can't say who yet. You'll want to check the numbers from Q for the real ones. She knew what Derek would do. He always did the same thing when threatened. He covered his own ass. Within days, he started pulling his name from shared accounts. Separating finances. Drafting quiet liability protections. Tristan noticed. He asked questions. Derek said nothing. But he started showing up late. Started avoiding calls. Stopped defending Tristan in meetings. One evening, he sent a single email to the Maddox Elevate legal team. Effective immediately, I am stepping down from my role as CFO. No comment at this time. That same day, a federal agency requested financial records from Maddox Elevate's holding company. Coincidence? Dannielle didn't believe in those. Target number 3, gone. By the end of the month, 5 of Tristan's closest advisors had publicly distanced themselves. 3 were caught in minor scandals. One had their NDA voided by a judge and suddenly remembered everything. And one simply disappeared, no calls, no texts, just a hollow office and a wiped laptop. The press started circling. Is Tristan Maddox's empire quietly fracturing? A string of exits casts doubt on the golden boy of media capital. How many exits before the whole ship sinks? Tristan tried to get ahead of it, hired a new PR firm, filmed a staged personal video talking about cleansing his circle, and booked 3 speaking gigs in 1 week to show strength. But it wasn't working. The glimmer was dulling. The headlines weren't glowing anymore. And worse? He didn't know who to trust. He stopped smiling at parties. He started watching the door. Watching the crowds. And every time, she was there. Isla Vance. Red hair. Calm eyes. Soft, unreadable voice. Always watching him. One night, after a gala, he whispered to a colleague, "Does she work for someone?" "She's been around." The colleague shrugged. "PR consultant. I think. She's kind of a mystery." Tristan nodded. But his jaw was tight. Something was wrong. The walls were shifting. The faces around him were no longer safe. The castle he'd built on manipulation and charm? It was starting to sink into the sand. Across town, in a dim apartment filled with corkboards, strings, and flashing screens, Dannielle updated her master list. Maddox Network, priority targets. Marcus Finn, compromised. Sienna Ray, discredited. Derek Tan, withdrawn. Olivia, executive admin, infiltration pending. PR agency, external, surveillance active. She pinned a fresh photo of Tristan at a recent conference. Beneath it, in red marker, she wrote, "Alone is easier to break. Because before you destroy a king, you burn down his court."
They lied. They cheated. They betrayed the one person who gave them everything. But guess what? The truth always finds a voice, and here, it screams. If you live for chaos, loyalty gone wrong, and revenge served cold, like this video. Drop a comment. And hit subscribe, because on Family Drama Unleashed, we don't forgive, and we never forget. Tap that bell, because the next betrayal? It's already on its way.